too often we get caught up in the needs of the moment and forget about what really matters. And we forget that there is more to education than just the pencil and paper side of it. Today we have the privilege to have with us a man who is well known for his inspirational and dynamic messages, Mr. Russel Simon. He has heard many great things about you, and we've told him wonderful things about you, and he's anxious to talk to you today. He knows that, and we have told him, that the respect that you give people that come into Fairfield High School is absolutely phenomenal. So we want you to extend that to Mr. Simon as well. Mr. Epperson has played a leading role in helping us to get Mr. Simon to come to speak with us, to talk with us today. And I'm going to give him the microphone, and he's going to do the introductions. Mr. Epperson.
Thank you. A couple of reminders here before I introduce our speaker. First of all, you will be asked to attend 7th period following the assembly today, so get there as quickly as possible. Also, Mr. Simon will be available in the media center during 7th period. Some of you have already been extended an invitation for the opportunity to hear him in a smaller group. We would like for you to honor those invitations and be there as quickly after this assembly is finished so we can get started there. Tonight, Mr. Simon will be back here again at 7 p.m. Your parents have been invited. We would like to see as many of them in attendance as possible. We encourage you to share with them when you get home tonight the message that you heard here today, and ask them to take a part in being in attendance tonight. It will be a separate, different type of program, but we certainly would welcome you to come back to hear that as well, so take advantage of that. At this time, it is my pleasure to introduce Russel Simon. He comes to us from the Minneapolis area. Approximately 250,000 teens and parents each year have the pleasure of hearing his speeches. He has made tours throughout the United States, well over 30 states in all. His message is one in which it talks about making good decisions, making choices, and demonstrating the character and leadership that is needed. At this time, there's nothing more than I can say as an introduction that he won't show you himself for the next hour. I ask that you give him a Fairfield High School welcome as only you can at this time, Mr. Russel Simon.
Say a prayer. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, good afternoon. How's everybody doing today? Good, good. Hey, you guys, there's a couple of things I want to say before I get going. First of all, I really want to thank Mark Epperson and Jeff Reed, both of those fellows, for calling me, working with my schedule, giving me another opportunity to share what I've been sharing with young people and adults all across this great country, so thank you. I want to thank Mr. Voorhees for opening up the school doors, for allowing this to take place as well. Thank you, sir. And I want to thank you guys for being here as well. Thank you very, very much. One other thing I want to say before I get going is I guess I just want to be very honest with you guys. And I want to tell you all for the next 45 minutes to an hour or so, I'm not here to entertain you. Just so you all know, I'm not one of those kind of speakers. And you know something? I know you guys probably know the kind of speakers I'm talking about. You know the ones. They come to your schools during the big red ribbon weeks, or the big chemical health weeks, or any other time during the school season, and in an hour, they'll tell you 20 or 30 jokes, then try to slip in 10 minutes of some sort of real message, run out the gym saying, "See ya, I hope your life changes." Well, just so you all know, I'm not one of those kind of speakers. I don't do it like that for one reason, and one reason alone. In my mind, there's nothing funny about drugs. There's nothing funny about alcohol. There's nothing funny about daddies beating mommies in the drunkenness. There's nothing funny about not graduating from high school, passing our favorite classes, or lettering in our favorite sports. And there's certainly nothing funny about young people or adults going to the grave with the music still in them. So tell me, Would you guys please tell me, how can I make you laugh? I can't. Instead, what I'm going to attempt to do, and I do mean attempt, is I'm going to try to bring you guys a message straight from the heart. And you know what? I really think that's the only way I can do it, is straight from the heart. So with that all said, let me begin by saying, my name is Russell Simon, and I am still a recovering drug addict and alcoholic. And I think you all probably know what that means, right? It means I'm sober, means I'm straight, means I do not use drugs and I do not drink anymore. That is what it means in that sense. But for guys like me, and you know something? There's a lot of guys just like me. It takes on a little deeper meaning. What it really means is, thank God I'm not dead. Thank God I'm not in prison for the rest of my life looking like this guy. Thank God I'm not blind, paralyzed, maimed, or sipping out of a straw in a wheelchair for the rest of my life, like many, many people are today due to this drug and alcohol thing that's affecting so many young people in our country. And I came here today to tell you all a little bit about my life, where I've been, some of the things I've been through, with the hopes and prayers that not a one of you in this room will ever have to go down the same road that I chose. And you know something? If any one of you is heading down that road, or ever find yourself heading down that road in the future, to be honest with you, to be completely honest with you guys, the only thing I can do for you this afternoon, just like the only thing any speaker can do for you today, tomorrow, or 20 years down the road, is to once again hope and pray that you'd at least stop, take a couple steps back, and maybe reevaluate some of the choices, some of the decisions that you've all made in your lives up to this point and from here on out. Because really, guys and girls, isn't that what life is full of? Choices and decisions? Matter of fact, 10 seconds can change your life forever, for the good or for the bad. Let me give you a couple of quick examples. It wasn't too long ago in Big Lake, Minnesota. There was a man sitting in a bar having a couple of beers. Now, you all know, just like I know, in America, when we reach a certain age, alcohol is legal for us. So it was not illegal for this man, who was an adult, to sit in a bar and have a couple of beers. But here's what I want you to know about this guy. You really need to know this before I tell you the rest of the story. This man, he never ever beat his wife. He did not beat his kids. He did not live house to house, paycheck to paycheck, town to town. This man was not a falling down drunk. And guess what, you guys? He had never, ever been in trouble with the law ever before. He was just sitting in a bar, man, having a couple of beers. He left the bar, hopped on his snowmobile, and he killed an innocent little 12-year-old boy. Those 10 seconds for that man to choose to drink and drive are now costing him 44 months in prison. 10 seconds can change your life. Northern Minnesota, 3 juniors, 11th graders in a high school. They were at a party one night just having a little bit of fun. And isn't that what it's all about, you guys? Just having some good old fun? I mean, come on. That's what young people your age tell me all over America. Is this having fun, Mr. Simon? Come on, man, ease up. Will you quit being so serious all the time? I mean, tell us a joke once in a while, will you, Mr. Simon? Come on, man, who are you trying to kid? Everybody drinks nowadays. Everybody smokes pot, Mr. Simon. Everybody has sex before marriage, Russ. Come on. This is the new millennium. I mean, everybody's doing it. Well, I don't know if anybody in this room has ever heard any of those lies yet or not, but I'm here today to tell you. That's what they are, you guys. I think about big, fat, juicy lies. Lies that we've been conditioned to believe. It's just not true. Not everybody is doing this kind of stuff. Not everybody's dead, are they? You guys are here. Not everybody's in a juvenile center waiting until they're 18 years old to go home to be with mommy or daddy, are they? You guys are here. Not every young lady, check this out, not every young lady that I see who gets off a big, huge yellow school bus in the morning has a little baby on her hip, taking her precious little child to a classroom that's been made into a daycare, dropping her little baby off, and then going down the hallway to get her little 7th or 8th grade English credit. Believe me, please believe me, not everybody is doing this kind of stuff. Don't buy the lie. Like my dear friend Pam Stenzel says, don't buy the lie. And that's what it is, you guys, a lie that we've been conditioned to believe. 3 juniors, 11th graders in a high school, at a party one night just having some good old fun. I'm sure some of you in this room know the parties. I know, I remember them. The kegs are flowing, the tunes are cranked. They left the party. They hopped in the same vehicle. The road was a little slippery, a little mist in the air. They all went off the road that night and into a lake. All 3 of them died. What we found out shortly thereafter was that they were all legally drunk, and the driver had marijuana in his system. No wonder why they couldn't save their lives, huh? Let alone their friends' lives. But let me ask you guys a question. Is there anybody here today that honestly thinks for 1 second that any one of those other 3 young, precious lives, and you know something? Precious you all are. But do you think they called home before they left the party? Do you think they called home and said, Mom, I love you. Hey, Daddy, I love you, man. Yeah, I'll see you when I get home from the party. I don't think so either. Do you call home before you leave the parties if you're going? I know I never did. 10 seconds can change your life. And it can change your life forever. For the good or for the bad. Please know it, and please always believe it. Now, a little background about myself. I was born in Indiana, moved to Minnesota when I was a young man. I moved to southern Minnesota, probably about 45 minutes north of the Iowa border. I'm a country kid, grew up on a farm. Matter of fact, the town I grew up in had about 2,500 people, 2 stoplights, and at least, I kid you guys not, at least 4 or 5 bars. You all might know the country just like I know the country. I am the oldest of 8 kids. I come from a pretty darn big family. I want to tell you guys something. I'm a mama's boy. I'm real tight with my mama. Now, I also want to tell you, I don't know if that's just because I'm the oldest kid or what. But you know something? Me and my mom are just like this. I love that lady so much to this day. And you know something else? If anybody in this room, and I mean anybody, wants to call me a mama's boy, you can call me mama's boy all day long. You know why? I'm going to tell you why. Because moms are special. Dads are special. Brothers and sisters are special. And when push comes to shove and you really need a little love, my experience, at least back then, my family was there for me. You know who wasn't there for me? The people in my life that would say stuff like this. Hey, Russ, if you get caught, man, don't snitch on me. You know something, bro? If I get busted, I won't rat on you either. And you know something, man? If you do get caught and you go to jails or treatment centers or psych wards or detox or prison, just keep your big mouth shut. For real, keep your big mouth shut, man. I'll be there for you. I'll write you letters. I'll visit you, Russ. I'll send you money once in a while. You know what? I'll even have a girl sneak in some dope once a month. Just don't rat on me, bro. You know something, you guys? Not one, but every one of my so-called friends that promised me stuff like that, the next time I saw them, they came to prison, or I read about them in the obituaries. Guess what? They weren't there for me when I got in trouble, just like I wasn't there for them when they got in trouble. But you know who was there for me? My blood, my mom, my dad, my little baby brothers and sisters. The people that I hurt the most, listen very carefully, the people that I hurt the most were also the same people that deep down inside of me I loved the most. They were there for me. But like many young folks, not only here in your great state of Iowa, but believe me, and please believe me, you guys, all across this mighty nation, I also grew up in an alcoholic family. And growing up in an alcoholic family, I saw a lot of violence between my mom and my dad. And what I mean by that is, I saw a lot of knives, a lot of guns, a lot of ambulances, and a lot of cops. A lot of crazy things happened in my home. You know what? It seemed like every single time my mom and dad drank, something bad would happen. Something bad would always happen, be it cupboard doors getting slammed shut, things getting tossed around the house, the verbal abuse, but most often, the physical abuse. Because in the drunkenness, my daddy used to beat us. And my papa beat me. He used to beat me with a horsewhip. And he beat me till he drew blood on my body, or till there was big old red welts. So a lot of the fighting, it always seemed to happen in the drunkenness when Dad wanted to beat me. Mom would jump in and stick up for me. Let me ask you guys a question. And you know something? I don't have too many questions I'm going to ask you today. But when I do ask you guys a question, if you think you might know the answer or you do know the answer, you don't have to raise your hand, okay? Just kind of yell it out. We all please try to participate as much as possible. Thank you. Anyways, here's the question. What do you guys think would happen once Mom stuck up for me? Anybody? Got the crap beat out of her. Hit her too. I hope every single person in this room heard that. Because you guys want to know something? It breaks my heart. It literally breaks my heart whenever I hear anybody answer that question. You know why? Because I honestly don't think that has to be the answer. But in the same breath, you know something? It doesn't surprise me. It really doesn't surprise me. And I want to tell you guys how some young people your age, have answered that question in the last couple years in the public school systems. In Whiting, Iowa, a kid went like this. Mama got slapped in the face. In Williamsburg, Kentucky, kid yelled out, Mama got whacked. In Fort Atchison, Wisconsin, kid went like this. Mama got socked in the head, man. Then he laughed, he giggled like it was funny. And now in Fairfield, Iowa, someone said, she got that crap beat out of her. It breaks my heart. It should break your heart too whenever anybody answers that question. I'll say it once. I said it once. I'll say it again. Because I honestly do not think that it has to be the answer. You know something, you guys? Let me tell you real quick here. The last 10 years of my life, I've been blessed, man. I've been out of the joint for almost 12, but the last 10, I've been really, really, really blessed. I've now been in 36 different states, 3 different countries talking to people. I've been on a couple national TV shows, wrote a couple of books. Talked to as little as 2 people, as many as 25,000 doctors, lawyers, FBI agents, teachers, but mainly high school and middle school students all across this country. And not one time, be it a kindergartner to a senior citizen, let alone a group of high school students, have I ever heard anybody ever answer that question by saying something like this. Mr. Simon, your mom walked away. Your dad walked away, Russ. They took a time out, Mr. Simon, and they dealt with it later. What else could they do? How come nobody ever answers that way? Maybe because so many people across this country and possibly in this room today know how powerful and dangerous drugs and alcohol truly, truly are. And that when we are under the influence of such things, not all the time, but enough of the time, we often do the things we know we ought not to do. We often do the things we know we ought not to do. But you guys want to know something? Whether quite a few of you voiced it, and you all thought it, you're absolutely correct. Once Mom stuck up for me, Dad in turn would beat her. And once it got to that point, I would take on the role as the oldest of trying to protect my mom by getting my dad off of her, which would usually give Mom a chance to do one of 2 things. She could either run and lock herself in the bathroom, or hop on the phone and dial 911. Then my dad would either catch me and beat me, or else I'd get away. And I remember living in the country, had one of those big old farmhouses. You guys know the ones I'm talking about? Big old farmhouse. And I would always try to keep my bedroom window open about 1 inch or so. That way, I never have to worry if it was locked or if it got stuck. So if I did get my dad off my mom and he didn't catch me, I could break up the steps, get in my room, lift the window up real quick, hop out on the roof, slide down the roof, go down the tree, and run up to the neighbor's house for the night, spend the night at the neighbor's, or else I'd sneak back in the house late at night after my dad was passed out in his favorite chair. And yes, my daddy had a favorite chair. It was a black recliner, a black reclining chair. And I want you guys to know how I know without any shadow of a doubt that that was my daddy's favorite chair. Because for as much as I can remember to this day, I can still picture in my mind this thing called a memory. Believe me, I wish I could shake it, but it just won't go away. And I can still remember way back then, my dad giving that evil spirit called alcoholism One last kiss goodnight. Setting it down. And passing out in that chair. That really was my daddy's chair. Now, the kind of people I hung around with were athletes, jocks. I'm a jock. I love sports. I love all sports. But my number one sport by far is hockey. And all my friends back in the 7th, 8th, 9th grade and previous, everybody hung around with, guess what, you guys? Nobody drank, nobody smoked pot, and nobody smoked cigarettes. Matter of fact, you guys can believe this or not, but back when I was in the 7th, 8th, 9th grade in rural Minnesota on the farm, I didn't even know what marijuana was. Didn't even know what weed was, man, until I was 15 years old, starting high school. Would you guys agree with me? I'm a late bloomer by today's standards. You guys better agree with me. Because by today's standards in America, check this out. By today's standards in America, if a kid in 2nd or 3rd grade don't know what dope is, there's something wrong with them. And that's a shame. Think about that. That's a crying shame. That's not the way it is supposed to be. But back then, I honestly did not know what drugs were. Oh, you know what I did know about? I just briefly told you. I knew about alcohol. And you know how I knew about alcohol? The same way some of you might know about it. Because I remembered. I remembered all the craziness that happened every time Mom and Dad drank. All the violence, all the verbal abuse. I remember walking in the kitchen one day, catching Mom emptying a bottle down the sink. Mom, what are you doing? Oh, we're not drinking anymore, son. Look, all gone. Things will get better this time. We promise. Or Mom finding a bottle of Dad's hid somewhere. The house, the barn, the tractor, the garage, wherever. Marking it to see if Daddy's been nipping on the bottle. Or better yet, this is a good one. Pops comes in from the fields. He gets off the tractor. He says, hey son, you want to run to town? You want to go to the store? Sure, Dad. All right, come on. Hop in the pickup truck. Get in the truck with my dad. We drive downtown. Dad parks the truck. Dad gets out of the truck. I'm starting to get out, and Dad says, no, Russ, wait here. Stay in the truck, son. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Okay, Dad. You want to bring me a candy bar? Pack of baseball cards? Yeah, son. I'll be back in. He always said 5 minutes. Always. The only thing is, Daddy would go into some bar and come out an hour, 2 hours later, drunker than a skunk, while I'm sitting in the truck with the door locked, being a good little boy. So that's how I know about alcohol. It kills. It hurts people. It separates families. It causes division amongst loved ones and friends. It brings consequences into people's lives. And guess what, you guys? It is still the number one killer amongst teenagers in America. Alcohol, beer, whiskey, liquor, you can call it what you want. It is still the number one killer amongst teenagers in this great nation. Now I wish, believe me how I wish I could tell you guys I never drank and I never did drugs. But I just can't tell you that today. For me, it started in the 10th grade, 15 years of age. But before I tell you guys about it, I want to tell you guys about 7 of the most important words ever written, okay? They go like this. As you think, so shall you be. 7 more words. As you sow, so shall you reap. But the way I understand the best goes something like this. What comes around, everybody knows that one, right? What comes around, goes around. And I guess what I'm trying to say to you is this. If we are around people long enough, getting high, getting drunk, pinching money from mama's purse, lying, cheating, stealing, skipping school, the truth is, and this is the truth, eventually we could be doing some of those exact same things. Why? There's only one way I can explain why it goes like this. Temptation, peer pressure, weakness of our flesh, our sinful natures. That is how it happens. If you guys don't believe me, if you honestly don't believe me, check this out. If anybody in this room, God forbid, if anybody in this room has ever done drugs or drank as mine, or if you guys ever do this coming weekend or next weekend or 5 years down the road, I'll guarantee every single adult in this room as well, if they've ever been through anything in their lives. There's not a one of us in this room today that woke up one day thus far, and there's not a one of us in this room today that will wake up one day in the future, just like I never did, and go something like this. Oh, man, I got a good night's sleep. What time is it? Wow, I slept for 10 hours. Boy, I'm refreshed, ripping, raring, ready to go. It's sunny and 70. What a gorgeous day. Wow, I ain't got nothing to do today, man. My friends are gone. I don't got school. I don't have no work. Everybody is gone. What should I do? Hey, I know what I'm going to do. I got it. I'm going to start drinking. Why not? I ain't got nothing else. I'm going to start drinking, smoke a little weed, do a little crystal meth, take an Oxycontin now and then again. Why not? I ain't got nothing else to do. I never did that. Either did anybody in this room. I was around it. I saw it. I smelt it. I knew what it was all about. I said, you guys, check this out. I said like we're supposed to say. Just say, I said, no, I don't want to do that. No, it's wrong. But one day I gave in. And you know something? I'm not going to lie to you. In the beginning, I had fun. Man. But you know something? The fun changed. It changed for me like it changes for others. And it changes in many, many different ways. For me, it changed when I started doing things that I didn't do before drugs or alcohol, like steal money from my mama's purse. I'll tell you something. It's a sad, sad day when the people that brought you in this world fed you, clothed you, loved you, did the best they could for you, got to hide their money because their own flesh and blood is going to rob them blind. I started cussing my parents out. Never, ever before drugs, alcohol, did I ever swear at my mom or dad. Now, don't get me wrong. Please, don't get me wrong. I said a few things behind their back out in the barn or the pig shed, okay? But it wasn't until I started drinking and drugging that I would stand right in front of my mama's face. My mom, who I'm supposed to love so much, huh? And I would call her filthy, rotten, dirty names. I was a different person. And everybody around me could see the difference, except me, because I chose to stay stuck. My grades went from B's to C's to D's. My sports went down the tubes. My relationships weren't any good. But you guys want to know something? I didn't have a problem. I really didn't. You know why? Because it was always somebody else's fault. It's mom's fault. It's dad's fault. It's my girlfriend's fault. It's my friend's fault. It's the principal's fault. No, it's the cop's fault. Really, Mom, that's why I get in trouble. Really, the cops are out to get me. Or better yet, you know how I used to blame? Whoever you are, whatever you are, it's your fault, man. You made me the way I am. I can't change. Always somebody else's fault for the poor choices, the poor decisions that we all sometimes make in our lives. Isn't it true? By the time I was 22 years old, been through treatment centers, psych wards, detoxes, and jails. Everything went in one ear and out the other ear. My way or no way, Mr. Noda. I was a kid that sat out there and rolled his eyes. I was a kid that sat out there and snickered and talked to my person sitting next to me thinking, this stuff ain't going to happen to me. I don't need to hear some crazy drug and alcohol speaker, man. This ain't going to happen to me. I was that same kid, man, from the country thinking those same thoughts. At the age of 22, you know what I ran out of? I ran out of these. Remember, you guys said it. Think about this. You guys said it, man. What comes around, goes around. No more slaps on the wrist. It all caught up to me. And I got sentenced to 125 months in prison. That's 10 years, 5 months. I got locked up when I was 22. I got out when I was 30. I went to St. Cloud Reformatory in St. Cloud, Minnesota in a van with no windows. My feet were shackled. I was handcuffed, had a waist chain around me, hooked up to a bunch of other guys. In my heart of hearts, I knew I was going to spend my next 8 to 10 years behind those big, huge walls with machine gun towers. You know what I was thinking to myself on that long, lonely stretch of highway so many years ago? I was honestly thinking to myself, am I going to get raped? Am I going to get killed? Am I going to have to kill somebody? Is somebody dear to me that I love going to die when I'm locked up? All that stuff zipping through my brain, man. When I got there, they took me to this place called quarantine. It's a place where they lock you up for the first 48 hours. They check you for AIDS, crabs, TB, hepatitis, all that disease kind of stuff, right? So on the way to B house, there's a group of guys coming back from the gym, going on down to E house. So the guard takes me, and he puts me in this little holding cell with bars on it till these guys walk by. Well, at the end of this group of guys, a bunch of dudes saw me. And when they saw me, they started whistling at me, saying things like, fresh meat, new meat, you're mine, we're going to get you, hey, cutie pie, all this crazy stuff, right? I went off. I started cussing and swearing, saying whatever I was saying back then. But you know what I was thinking to myself? I was honestly thinking, how? How is another man going to talk to me like that? Anyways, his guys walked by, and you know what that guard said to me? That guard that was waiting to take me to quarantine after he heard this little confrontation, he looked me in square in the eyes. He said, "Mr. Simon?" I'm like, "Yeah?" He said, "I think that just cost you a good butt whooping." Not in those exact words, but that just cost you a good butt whooping. And now I thought to myself, where am I? My first day in prison ever. And I got a guard who's supposed to protect me from other inmates, telling me I'm going to get my butt whooped. Incredible. After I got out of quarantine, I got called into a little room. I was told to sit down, shut your mouth, and don't say a word. "We got a new name for you. Your name is no longer Russell Simon." I looked at this guy, I'm like, "Excuse me, officer? What do you mean my name is no longer Russell Simon? Listen here, man. My mama, she named me when I was a baby. My name is Russell James Simon Jr. That's my name, man. You're not taking my name from me." This is what the guard said word for word. And let me say something real quick. To my dying day, you guys, to my dying day, I will never, ever forget what this guy looked like, what he said, or how he said it. But this is what he said, word for word. He said, "Too bad, boy. Your mama ain't here, now is she? You're a part of the Minnesota Department of Corrections. We're going to give you a new name. You're going to know your new name. And when we call you by it, you're going to come to it. Do you understand me?" "Yes, sir, officer, I understand you. What's my new name?" "Your new name is 124938. You're a number. You're a statistic. You are a part of the Minnesota Department of Corrections." That is my mugshot. That's what I looked like when I was locked up. Not a happy camper, huh? Some of the things they'd say stuff like this. 124938, report to the bubble. The doctor is here. 124938, report to the bubble. Your canteen is ready. 124938, report to the bubble. You got a visit. Then you have to go through 9, check it out, 9 steel doors just to get in the visiting room. Then you get pat searched and strip searched on the way in, pat searched and strip searched on the way out. When I say strip search, I mean you bend them, you spread them, you lift them. The whole degrading, demoralizing process both ways. You know something, young people? It is so shameful. It is so shameful to have to go through that. It kind of makes the guy not want to have visits. Knowing that you got to go through that just to get in the visiting room to see your mama or your daddy or someone that you love and get a hug, get a kiss that you can't get elsewhere. That's how bad it is. But you know something? I always went on my visits. Oh yeah, I didn't care what I had to go through. You know why? Because the minute that big, huge steel door slammed behind me for the very first night, I finally realized something. I finally realized I was now living for 3 things. My mail, my phone calls, and my visits. Any kind of outside contact with the world, with society, the things I took for granted in my life, which was my life itself, my freedoms, I cherished once I lost them. And isn't that true, you guys? Isn't it true for every single one of us in this room today? We often have to wait till something bad, something terrible, something tragic happens until we realize how precious America really is. Or until we realize how precious our lives absolutely are. We often have to wait until tragedy strikes, until we say, whoa, enough is enough. You guys want to know what's so sad about saying, whoa, enough is enough? Oftentimes, it's not enough. Because we all know someone, or 70% of you know someone close to yourself, that something bad has already happened to because of drugs or alcohol. And out of that 70% of you, there's a high percentage of you that still continue to do the same things that might have cost the other person consequences or possibly their life. We often have to wait for a long time before we finally give this stuff up. I don't know why. I wish I had the magical wand, but I don't have all the answers. I wish I did. I saw stabbings, rapes, suicides, and 2 murders while I was there. They tell you when you go to your cell, come out of your cell, go to the gym, go to the yard, use the phone, go to the store and have visits. I made 40 cents an hour. Let me say that one more time. I made 40 cents an hour, $26 every 2 weeks. Highest paying job in Minnesota back then was $1 an hour. I don't know what the going rate is down here in Newton or Fort Madison or Fort Dodge or the other places in your state. I don't know what it is, but I'm kind of guessing it's probably not much higher or lower than $1 an hour. Matter of fact, you want to hear something else real quick? The last thing they give you before you leave the penitentiary is your envelope with your check in. And I'm free, man. I'm free. They checked my thumbprints. They read that little retina in my eye, or that red laser now, because they're reading your retinas, all this new technology. Took my picture. I signed out my parole papers and whatever. I'm free. All I got to do is hop in a car that's waiting for me. Well, before I hopped in the car that's waiting for me, you know what I did? I went like this. I ripped open that envelope that had my check in it. I wanted to see how much cash I'd have as a 30-year-old man starting out in society. You know what the check said? The check said $185. and $53.97. The lady who gave it to me went just like this, and I kid you not. See you later, Mr. Simon. We hope you don't come back. Believe me, if anybody ever goes down this road, it's a pretty easy road to go down nowadays, especially with all the new drugs, especially methamphetamines on the market and everything else that's going on in our country. I'll guarantee you're not going to walk out with a big old fat knot of money in your pocket. It just doesn't happen. You're behind four walls with four corners. You can't run. You can't hide. You have every color of person you can think of, every crime possible. You know something? Iowa's just like Minnesota. You guys don't have separate prisons in Iowa for child molesters only, rapists over here, serial killers right here, burglars right here, forgers right here, auto theft people right here, and all little drug dealers and alcoholics over here in Newton. You're all in the same place. You guys have men and women in your state doing 1 year to 100 years, just like we do, and you also got people in your state getting high, getting drunk while they're there, committing new crimes. Oh yeah, drugs in prison? Lots of them. Lots of drugs in prison. Homemade booze too. You know what we call it here in the Midwest? We call it hooch. From Springfield, Missouri, Highway 44 South, Payne Stewart Memorial Highway, it's called homebrew. East Coast, West Coast is called buck, B-U-C-K. We got men and women in our prisons doing 1 year to 100 years, getting high, getting drunk, committing new crimes while they're there. Then you see this case of weapons? Given to the Minnesota Department of Corrections. I go back in prisons all over, and I've been in Fort Dodge and Newton speaking, haven't been to Fort Madison. But this is from Stillwater State Prison in Minnesota. I was there speaking one day, and when I got done, a guard said he had something for me. And he gave me this big old plastic tub full of weapons. He said, take them home, clean them up, put them in a case so no one can get to them, and show young people some of the stuff we confiscate on inmates. This is from prison. Nunchucks, billy clubs, big old pieces of steel. Incredible. It really is incredible. I cannot begin to give you the mentality that goes with being inside there. I just can't. I'm so far removed from it. I wish I could still be a little more raw like I was when I first got out, but I just can't be like that no more. I'm afraid to go back to prison. I don't think I'd make it. I don't think I got the mentality anymore just to survive. That's how crazy it is. Now, the worst thing that happened to me, by far the worst thing that ever happened to me while I was locked up, happened on November 9th, 1989. I was laying in my cell one day, didn't have a job, nowhere to go, nothing to do. Jobs are real hard to come by because of the overpopulation. And all of a sudden I heard my name over the loudspeaker. 1249-38, report to the bubble. You got to pass. My door popped open, got up, threw my clothes on. I walked on down to the desk. I said, hey, officer, where's the pass to? He said it's to the psychiatrist's office. I said, listen here, man, I don't want to see no psychiatrist. I'm okay. I'm not going to hurt myself. He said, too bad. You still need to go see the psychiatrist. Then he said, if you don't want to stay, come on back. We'll put you in your cell. Actually, you know something? He was a pretty cool guard. He really was. So I took his pass, and I walked down the long, dark corridor in prison. And I got to the psychiatrist's office, and I walked in. And the first words out of this man's mouth were this. He said, your mom is dying. Your mom is dying, and you get two choices. You can go see her on her deathbed, or you can go to her funeral. My mom was only 50 years old. She was young. She was brain dead. She was comatose. The only thing keeping that lady alive was a machine until her oldest boy, who was in prison, could come and say his last respects. She left 7 kids at home, 6 of them still in school. Believe me, please believe me, moms are special. So are dads, and yes, so are brothers and sisters. Now, like I said earlier, I'll say it one more time. If you guys wanted to, you can call me Mama's boy all day long. I'm okay with that. I'm really okay with it. I went and saw my mom for our last time in Coon Rapids, Minnesota, Mercy Medical Center. I was in shackles and chains. There was 2 guards with me, shoulder to shoulder, and I got to spend 2 hours with my mom. I can easily tell you it was by far the worst day of my entire life. To see someone that you love laying there helpless. She couldn't talk. She couldn't breathe on her own. Here comes the big brother with all the orange suit on and shackles and chains, seeing people that he didn't even know that were friends of the family. Little brothers and sisters in a room crying. It was the worst day of my entire life. You know what the doctors told me? They said, talk to your mom. Because they say the last thing to go in a comatose state is the hearing. Talk to her. She can hear you, but she won't be able to talk back to you. I still didn't know what to say to my mom. What could I say to her? Better yet, what could you guys say? What could you guys say right now, right here today, to the people that you all love deepest in your hearts, if you were ever in a similar situation. Probably, check it out, probably not even being in prison. What could you guys say? I don't know what you could say. But I hope and I personally pray you could all say something different than what I had to. Because the truth is, this is the only thing I could come up with, and this is just a piece of it, to say to my mom. I'm sorry, Ma. Mom, I'm sorry. Will you please forgive me? I'm sorry for cussing you out, Ma. I'm sorry for lying to you, Ma. I'm sorry for pinching money from your purse, Mom. I'm sorry for throwing the broom at you that one day, Ma, hitting you and taking off out the back door. Will you please forgive me? Then as my hands were handcuffed, I reached down and grabbed my mama's hand, and I held it for a long, long time. And then I finally said it. It finally came out of me. I said, I love you, Mom. Mom, I love you. But my mama couldn't tell me she loved me back because she was brain dead. I went back to prison that day more broken than what I already was, full of all those feelings. You guys know the ones, right? I can see it in some of your faces. The hurt, the pain, the guilt, the shame, the anger, the rage. Instead of talking about my emotions and dealing with them appropriately, I did like I did when I was in the 10th grade. Once the fun was over, I continued to use and abuse drugs and alcohol for 2 reasons. Number 1, to be cool, to fit in, to be accepted, to be liked. And number 2, to try to mask or run from some of those hurts, those pains, those guilts, and those shames. But guess what, young people? The pain never, ever went away. 6 months after my mama died, on July 1st, 1990, a man came into my cell. A big, huge white man, 6'4", 280 pounds, tattoos from his neck all the way down. Both arms were tatted up. Matter of fact, he had the words white pride on the back of his arms. Had number 13 on his ankle. He done killed 13 people. He was never, ever going home. He said, I'm going to rape you. I'm going to get you, boy. That's mine. I'm going to get you before you leave. And he walked away. The next day, I bought me a carton of cigarettes. I traded him to a man in the metal shop for a piece of steel. When this guy came at me, I pulled my piece out of my ace bandage and I started swinging it. And I'll never, ever forget what I said to this guy. I said, Mister, you had better kill me, because I'm not going to let you rape me like some of these other guys are letting you do it to them just because they're scared. And the last time I swung, I hit him. And when I hit him from here all the way down to here. They took me from the prison to the streets, Sherburne County, Elk River, Minnesota, and I was charged with attempted murder. Oh yeah, that's what they do nowadays, you guys, even for fist fighting. Someone pats you on your butt in prison and call you cutie and you hit them and draw blood? That's a 5th degree assault, man. They're taking people from the prisons to the streets all over America and giving them more time in prison. They tried to give me 20 more years in prison. I went to trial, and after a 10-day long jury trial, by the grace of God, I was found not guilty by reason of self-defense. Nonetheless, after my trial, instead of taking me back to the reformatory, they took a right-hand turn on the freeway, and I thought, where are we going? What are you going to do, take me and beat me up? I'm like, officer, where are we going? You're going to Oak Park Heights, the underground prison. One of a few underground prisons like its kind in the world. It only holds 350 people, and of those 350 people, 60% of them are doing life without parole. When I got to Oak Park Heights, the prison charged me with the same crime, attempted murder. And guess what? The prison found me guilty. The prison always finds you guilty. And when they found me guilty, they sentenced me to the maximum that they could under Minnesota state law. They sentenced me to 2 years. 2 years of solitary confinement. The whole. Where you get out of your cell for an hour a day, you don't get your own clothes, no TV, no fan, no radio. You get 3 10-minute phone calls a week and one 1-hour visit a week. That 1-hour visit's behind glass on a phone. After I got out of the hole, I stayed out of trouble long enough. Got sent to a different prison. It's in this prison where I went to treatment. I went to treatment for one reason, to play the hustle. The con. Yes, sir. No, sir. I've done drugs. I've done alcohol. I promise I won't hurt people no more. Just, let me complete the program and move on, Play the hustle. I'm sure some of you know the hustle, right? From sitting in the counselor's office or the principal's office or in front of mom or dad. Of course, it starts at a young age sometimes, doing the hustle, Except something happened to me. It happened on July 6th of 1992. I can't explain it, what happened to me. But something happened, man. And all of a sudden, I surrendered. And when I surrendered, I dropped that tough guy image. That myth that says guys don't cry, big boys don't cry. Has anybody in this room ever heard that before? Of course you have. If you're admitting to hearing that, if you really admit to believe that, you know what you're really admitting to? Think about this. Think about this deep, you guys. You know what you're really admitting to if you believe that? Another lie that we've been conditioned to believe. Everybody drinks. Everybody smokes pot. Everybody has sex before marriage. Men don't cry. Big boys don't show emotion. Even though in our hearts we know none of that is true. We justify it up here to keep us stuck doing the things we know we ought not to do. It's just another excuse to get away with stuff. That's all it is. Another excuse to not deal with the pain. The other stuff that's going on in our life sometimes. That's all it really is. Don't you ever let another man tell you another man or boy does not cry. They are lying to your face. And all you young men here today, if you ever have sons of your own, please, 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 don't you dare tell your boy that same lie. Don't do that to your kid. I've seen Michael Jordan cry. I've seen Tiger Woods cry. I've seen Sammy Sosa cry. In 1998, the same year Mark McGwire broke Roger Maris's single-season home run record, I spoke in front of the entire St. Louis Cardinal baseball team, and I saw Mr. Mark McGwire not cry, but bawl his eyes out like a little baby. Talk about a man who has heart for people. Jesus cried. And you know something else? Since 9/11 of 01, our own President of the United States of America has cried at least 2 times on national TV. Tell me men can't cry, and I will look you straight in your face and call you a liar. It's okay to talk about this stuff. It's always okay to talk about no matter what it is that's going on in our lives. Those are your thoughts, your feelings. Don't you ever let anybody try to shut you down. It's just how you deal with those thoughts and those feelings that make a difference. For example, do you guys keep stuff inside and someday explode? You turn to drugs, turn to alcohol, try to smoke them or drink them away. Knowing that when you come down, the same problems are still there. Nothing changed but you. Think about that. After the fun was over for me, I used to go get wasted because Dad beat Mom. But when I came down from getting high and drunk, my dad still beat my mom. Nothing changed but me. And so on and so forth. I give you 100 scenarios like that. What about you? What about you? Nonetheless, I got sober July 6, 1992. I got out of prison December 9th, 1993. Life after prison has not been easy. Lots of ups, lots of downs. But I had goals. I had dreams. I got involved in self-help groups, AA, NAEA, Emotional Alcoholics, Narcotics Anonymous, higher power stuff, spiritual stuff. My life began to change. I don't know how to explain to anybody any other way other than saying this to you guys. Anybody remember those 7 words? As you think, so shall you be. How come, high schoolers? Check this out. How come? Think about this. How come when we're around good people doing good things often seem to happen? But when we're around negative people doing negative things, how come those kinds of things often seem to happen? I don't know. I guess that's just the way it is, huh? Because that is the way it is. Now, some of the things still with me today from the drug world that you guys can't see, on this side of my nose, way up here, got a couple holes from all the stuff I've snorted. I just got insurance this last year. I'm not kidding you. Last May I got insurance. So soon, I hope soon, they're going to cut my nose, peel it back, and fix it. I get flashbacks once in a great while. But more often than not, I get a taste in my mouth called euphoric recall. Certain times when I think about drugs or alcohol, I can taste them. I can literally taste them in my mouth. My hands tend to sweat and shake whenever I talk about sticking needles in my arms, or my feet, or the side of my neck. Oh yeah, I guess I didn't tell you guys that, did I? Let me tell you now, and listen very, very carefully. For this little old country boy, you know what? That's what I am, a little old country boy. It didn't start with heroin. Does it ever? It didn't start with crack cocaine or crystal meth or ecstasy or Oxycontin or whatever else is on the market today. And then the last thing I did before I started messing my life up was smoke some weed and drink some beer. It started with drinking some beer and smoking some weed. That's usually how it always starts. So yeah, drugs and alcohol didn't kill me, did they? Nope, thank goodness I'm alive. But you guys want to know something? If you haven't noticed it already, drugs and alcohol, they took something from me. They took a lot out of my life, not to mention the 8 years in prison. And they will you too. Anytime you use and abuse anything, it's going to take something from you. May not get you today, may not get you tomorrow, a year, 5, 10, 20 years down the road, it may not get you. But I guarantee you, what comes around, emphysema, cancer, liver disease, not graduating from high school, passing their favorite classes, letting their favorite sports, waking up with a hangover. That's a consequence. Wake up with vomit in our bodies. That's a consequence. Coming to school and failing the test because you didn't study for the test. That is a consequence. Very seldom is it death or prison. You guys know it and I know it. Very seldom is it death or prison. But you want to know what the greatest consequence of all is in my little old mind? The people that grow up to be 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, getting high, getting drunk, beating their wives, beating their kids, living house to house, paycheck to paycheck, town to town, 50 years old, wondering, what the heck happened in my life, man? Where'd my life go wrong? They were too busy blaming the world and everybody in the world instead of taking responsibility for their own actions. You know what I call people like that? I call them survivors. You guys know who they are. I used to be one of them. You know, a survivor kind of floating through this little journey, not giving a hoot about where we've been, where we're at, or where we're going. You know why? Because things will always change tomorrow, right? That's how we think, right? Things will always get better tomorrow. I won't do that again. Things will change. Things will change. You know what I've learned? Nothing will change tomorrow until you start taking care of it today. That's what I've learned. Nothing will change tomorrow until you start taking care of it today. I guarantee it. Now, on the brighter side, I'm going to hush up because I know y'all want to get back to class, right? I want to tell you what I got today that I've never had before in my life with consistency. I got some money in my pocket. Got food in my belly. I'm trying to suck it in up here. I hate being up on a stage. I got food in my belly. I got a place to sleep at night. I don't ever have to look over my shoulder again thinking the police are after me or one of my so-called bros is going to rob me out of drugs or money. And if I die right now, right here tonight on the way home to Roseville, Minnesota, where I live with my little 6-year-old boy, I'm dying drug, alcohol, and nicotine-free. And you guys want to know something else? And this is the best part right here, so please, please listen. Not only if I was to die tonight, would I be dying drug, alcohol, and nicotine-free, but without any doubt, no doubt whatsoever, period. Period. Guess what? I know where I'm going when I die. I know it, and I believe it. And that's what life is all about, you young people. Life is about living, not dying. Life is about faith, hope, and love. But the greatest of these is love. That's truly what this life is all about. My message today goes like this. Reach out. Reach out and live, you young people, please. Don't ever die to this stuff, man, or have any consequences because of it. If there is anything, and I mean anything, going on in your home lives, your social lives, your peer lives, reach out and talk about it. Deal with it. Don't be a pretender or a make-believer like I was or many people are today. Use the resources in your homes, your schools, your communities, your churches, and take that first step forward and set yourself free. Because you know what? It is the truth. It is the truth that will set you free. The truth will always, always set you free. But guess what, you guys? That's your choice. And that will always be your choice. Because would you all not agree with me? In this life that we live, we have the freedom to choose. You guys agree with that? The places we go, the people we sit next to, the clothes we wear, and even the food we eat. But you know what we never have the freedom of? We never have the freedom of consequence. And I'm here today to share with you, just like some of you could probably stand up here and share with me, that when you fail to control the events in your life, then someday the events will control you. Make no mistake about it. It happens more often than not when anybody at any age uses and abuses drugs and or alcohol. Make no mistake about it. Now, before I go, and I want to tell you, I'm pretty much done. I don't have a big finale at the end. Like I told you, I don't know how to do that. I was pretty straight with you from the get-go. I'm not here to entertain you. I don't know how to, do a big joke at the end and run out of here saying, see ya. I don't know how to do it, man. I was serious with you guys from the get-go, and I hope you appreciate a message like this. I hope you guys know why I'm not here to entertain you. There's too much pain, man. It's not funny anymore. It's not funny anymore when bad things start happening to us or the people we love. How can it be? And I don't have to remind you some of the stuff that's happened in your own backyard in this community in the last 4, 5, 6 months. I don't have to remind you. You guys know more than I know. Hold that thought and do something different if you're not doing it already. But before I go, I want to tell you, tonight I'm going to be back here at 7 o'clock. I'm going to share a few things differently. I'm going to share some of the same stuff with your parents. Hopefully you can come back, invite someone back, get your mom or dad to come if you can. I also want to mention that I was able to write a couple of books. I'll definitely see about leaving some in the library. I'm not a famous anybody. My books aren't in any bookstores anywhere in America. I self-publish them. I sell them out of the trunk of my car in my garage. I'm very blessed to say my first book, there's over 40,000 copies in print. It's called Inside the Walls, a book about drugs, prison, gangs, and recovery. My second book, which came out a few years ago, there's close to 20,000 copies of this one in print. It's called No Way But God's Way. And finally, I was able to go inside Stillwater State Prison with a camera crew, and I made a video called 10 Seconds Can Change Your Life Forever, for the good or for the bad. The choice is yours, and the choice will always be yours. So if you guys ever see these in the future, pick them up, read them. I guarantee you there's a message there for you or someone that you might love. I wish I had more time as always, but I don't. I want to thank you guys for being a great group. God bless you, and I wish you the very, very best. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Very good job.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Simon. Appreciate your words that you've shared with us today. At this time, we ask that you dismiss.
Barbershop, learn how to cut hair. This is also where inmates get their hair cut. Kind of self-sufficient, you know. The bakery, learn how to bake. This is also the stuff inmates eat, right? T-shirt and underwear shop, Fruit of the Loom, contracts with one of the prisons in Minnesota. I don't know if you guys ever wore Fruit of the Loom underwear or T-shirts, but I'm guessing they're probably made somewhere in America besides Minnesota. You know, got paid 40 cents an hour to make them, and then I don't know what they sell, what, 3 for $10 on the streets or something? I don't know. Another shot of unit. Does anybody remember what the main floor is called? Flag. The flag, very good. This unit has 1, 2, 3 galleys. It's dirty, it's grungy. From the riots in the old days, on this side of the screen that you guys can't see is like where the living unit wall would be, and they have windows, right? A lot of them are broken open from the riots in the early 80s between the Indians and the Cubans, when we had a bunch of Cubans in Minnesota prisons. Right? So at night, the bats come in and fly around, or behind your cell you can hear the rats and the mice going up and down the catwalks. I mean, it's old, and what do you expect? I mean, it's an old, grungy, dirty prison. That's what it looks like. Another shot of a unit. Now, someone asked, what would you do at night from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock? Well, this is what you do. You play cards on the picnic table, play dominoes. You get to go to the gym an hour a day from April, when we do the clock change thing, till October. And then from October to April, you go to the gym an hour a day. But you go, well, they tell you, it's not like, hey, officer, my mom's coming to see me at 7. Can I go to the gym at 6? No, you go when you're supposed to. Otherwise, you just don't go to the gym, you know? So you got to kind of prioritize. So when I was telling you guys it's easy to get away with things, it'd be like you going up to that guard and say, or me saying, hey officer, come here, man. My toilet doesn't work. And you two guys, two beefed up little wrestlers here, right? Run upstairs and go down the gallery to someone else's cell and run in on them and beat them up, man, and take their drugs or cigarettes or whatever and hurt them. And it's pretty easy to get away with, because like I said, you got 10 to 15 guards to walk around and watch. Now mind you, what you see on this side is identical on the other side of the house. So I can watch, there's a little, see down there, see down here? You can cut through there and go on the other side and go upstairs too. So you got all these people, man, that are in there for violent, crazy stuff, and you know, it's pretty easy to act out. And a lot of people, like during the holidays or birthdays, you know, or if you got drugs and I ain't got drugs, you got visits all the time, I'm jealous, man. You know, so we're going to get my little buddies together, come up and duff you up and make you, you know, give us some of your dope. That's the mentality. This is ER. This is where people play sports in the summer months. Sports is a huge thing in prison. A lot of talented athletes in prison as well. Schoolroom. Back when I was locked up, they did offer college education. They don't do that anymore. They do offer GED and high school diploma. What's different than the classrooms you guys are in today? Well, in prison, let's see, there's bars on the windows. Guys don't see no girls. Girls don't see no guys. One of those guys got to go to the bathroom. They don't get a eraser pass that says be back in 5 minutes, right? They get escorted to the bathroom. You know why? Because there's guys going to the bathroom having sex, getting stabbed, or smoking dope. So they got to have escorts wherever they go. The guards stand there and watch them. So that's education in the penitentiary. Here's a guy who turned his head for the camera. Let me ask you guys something. What kind of feelings do you think he was feeling? Don't
Don't want to be there. What else? Embarrassed, ashamed. I cannot begin to tell you the feelings of embarrassment and shame the minute that door slams behind you. It's the worst feeling in the world, knowing that you can't leave until someone opens that door for you. You have no control other than to go along with the program. Because if you don't, they're going to send you and put you in another cell after they duff you up a little. And if worse comes to worse, they 4-point you. They got a thing they call the surfboard. If you get so out of control, and they don't have to call up your mom and say, hey, he's acting out, can I do this? They don't have to call the judge. I've seen them run in and shoot people up with dope, man, to calm them down. They put them on a surfboard. It's like a sea, one of those, what are they called? You know those things you get on a ride? What are they called? You know when you're a kid at the park? Teeter-totter, right? And it's got a crank thing on it, and I kid you not, they 4-point you across the chest. And Minnesota state law says every 20 minutes you have to take a strap out. Now when you're like this, the only thing you can really do to a guard is spit in their face, right? I mean, if you're really crazy. And then, you know, you kind of get duffed up a little bit, then they strap you off. And you're locked out. And they can keep you like that for like 3 days or some, you know, some crazy number, like 72 hours or 48 hours or something, you know? And you just urinate all over yourself or do whatever, man. I don't know how they take care of that. I don't know the rules on that. But if you get so far, they'll 4-punch you. Now, when I was locked up, there was an Indian brother named Reyes. We call him Terminator. Terminator jumped a guard and beat a guard. And that's like the worst thing to do in prison, is kind of like out here killing a cop, right? Well, within 10 seconds, there's like 20 guards there just, you know, beating him up, you know, doing what they're supposed to do, I guess, protect the place and keep it safe. Well, while they're holding him down, the lady in the white uniform runs in, the nurse. You know what she does? Pulls out a little needle, sticks it in his butt and shoots it up full of Thorazine. Next time I saw a Terminator, and I kid you not, I'm walking around the prison, right? This is the underground prison, Oak Park Heights. This is the next time I saw him, because this is after my attempted murder charge, right? Walking around the underground prison, going somewhere. And they have the MHU unit, the mental health unit. Terminators in the window with hand restraints doing this. Didn't look like the same guy I saw, what, a year or 15 months ago or whatever it was, who beat up a guard. You know what I'm saying? They can do what they want to do. They got certain laws they have to follow, but they don't have to call up a mom or dad or a judge and say, man, your kid's acting up. Can I shoot him up with some dope? Nah, if they feel that's necessary, they're going to do it. This is Stillwater Prison. This is the prison I eventually got sober in. This is an aerial view. In the old days, the younger brothers and Jesse James did time in that prison. Matter of fact, you guys want to know something? In the old days, when you got into the prison, you know what they gave you? They gave you a horse, and you'd ride away into the sunset. Nowadays, they give you the money you've been able to save while you were there. This is what Stillwater looks like today. So for those of you guys that were asking about the work areas, you see you got the big wall around you, up on the top there, the north end, that's like the work units, and then down in the middle, you got living units, and so people would go from the work units to the living units, but you're always behind one big wall. This is on top of the wall looking into the yard. And by the way, you know it's kind of weird, my case with the AR-15, 223 caliber machine gun, that's what they use. The guards walk around on the roads with those kind of machine guns, and they're trained to shoot to kill. It doesn't say, shoot him in the butt if he's trying to jump the wall, you shoot to kill. That's what it says in their manual. Here's one of the guards and one of the guard towers. These are some of the fences and more guard towers just leading up to the prison. This is walking in to the prison. Like if you're going to walk in to visit someone, you're going to prison. Guess what time of the year it is in Minnesota? It's Christmas. Have you guys ever seen such a pathetic Christmas tree? They do not want anybody to think this is a happy place, okay? Plain and simple, man, that is pathetic. But now this is the 4 to 6 electronic doors. You enter the prison, you leave the prison. They check your thumbprints. They just recently, you know, they started doing the reading your retina with the red laser, and you know all the other stuff they do, whatever else they do, who knows. But a lot of technology coming out nowadays. So this is one of the rotundas inside the prison where people go to and from places during the day. You got 5 minutes to get from one place to another. If you're a minute late, you're going to the hole. They don't mess around. If you're a minute late, you did something wrong, you're going to the hole. Because it shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to get anywhere in that prison. This is the old solitary confinement. The new solitary confinement looks like this. All they did was they changed the doors, put on another door with a little peephole on it. Your cells go from 6x9 to 5x8. They bring your food to you. You're in your cell 23 hours a day. You don't get your own clothes, no TV, no fan, no radio. When you're out of your cell for that hour a day, it's not like going outside and running around. You're in a room probably, You're in a room probably from here to the wall, and you got a little shower spigot in the corner, and you got cameras on it, and there's no curtain, and over there you got a little phone on the wall with a button. You press the button, the intercom goes to the bubble where the guards are, right, running all the controls. This is Simon, man, I want to get my 10-minute phone call. Well, if you got your 10-minute phone call, they flick on the thing, they dial the number for you if it's on your list, and you wait for it to ring, and while you're talking, you might be talking to your mom, getting ready to say, Mom, and they hang up, and you couldn't even say I love you because you didn't know when your 10 minutes was up, right? And then you go back to your cell. So when I was in the hole doing those 2 years, in which I did 14 months, I didn't do a whole 2 years. I did 14 months straight on the 2 years sentence because they gave me a time cut because I was going goofy. I stayed in my cell most of the time. I come out, use my phone and go back in my cell. You sleep all day, up all night, sleep all day, kind of like the song, huh? And that's really how it is in solitary confinement. Another shot of a cell, mind you, there'd be 2 men to a cell nowadays. This is the UA cell, urinalysis cell. They suspected using drugs or drinking. What they do is they bring you in here, they take all your clothes, you're standing there butt naked, they go behind the cell, shut the water off, and they put blue stuff in the toilet. And they give you a little cup of tea for them. And if you're dirty, you're going to get caught. There's no way to beat them. There's no way. You just can't flush nothing. I mean, you're not going to drink blue stuff out of the toilet, right? And you're not going to stand there butt naked for 4 days and think, you're going to get the stuff out of your system or however it works. And then if you get caught, you're going to solitary confinement, and you're going to get loss of privileges, LOP, and you're also going to put on non-contact, anywhere from 30 days to, some guys, if you get caught bringing in drugs, you're on non-contact for 2 years. And some people can get on non-contact forever. If you get a case like you bring in a whole bunch of heroin and you get charged with a new crime on the streets, they get enough dope on you in prison to charge you with a new actual crime, you get no prison, no visits. There's a guy I know, Tim Ely, who was in there for killing a cop, man, and he's been locked up for 22 years. And he's the editor of the paper. I was just in there about 2 months ago doing a newspaper or article for the prison paper, the Mirror, and he's still on non-contact. Or not on any visit. He can't have any visits. For 10 years now, he hasn't had a visit because he can't have them.
When you go back in there now that you're walking, disliking because of that, I don't think you're the same guy.
Well, when I go back in there, do a lot of people dislike me because I'm not the same guy? No, actually, I think it's the opposite. I think I give a lot of hope to those guys in there that knew me as a knucklehead and doing some of the stuff I did and think, you know what, if this Yahoo can get out and make it, so can I. I think that's what the message is. There might be some people that are thinking whatever, but if they're still thinking that I'm doing something different, yet I've been out for 12 years, they got more of an issue than I do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. People do change. That should say something right there in itself, So, yeah.
What's the percentage of people like get out, then they go back?
Good question. Right now in America, the recidivism rate is at the highest we've ever seen it. They say in America Day, and there's over 2 million plus people locked up in our country. And by the way, let me add this real quick. Of the 2 million plus people locked up in America Day, you guys, check it out, 78.3%. Roughly 8 out of every 10 people locked up in our country, guess what? They were high or drunk when they broke the law. They were under the influence of drugs or alcohol. That's what got them there. Now, the recidivism rate, to your question, they say 2 out of every 3 people that get out of prison today, they go back to prison within 2 years with a sentence of 5 years or more. Incredible statistics. Very scary stuff, man. So what that says is, there's not a lot of aftercare. There's not, people aren't going back to their old places. People aren't doing what they need to do to stay out.
It's like, I watched some, and then I said, or MSNBC, whatever it is, like about the jails. Like LA is like, looks like the largest jail in the country.
Elliot?
LA.
Oh, LA, okay, yeah. In Cook County Jail in Chicago, that's pretty tough. So.
What's the hygiene like in there? Like, I know you get checked for all that stuff, but there's still disease and stuff.
What's the hygiene like? Well, I'll tell you, one of the biggest things, people stay clean for the most part. If you don't take a shower, the guards make you clean up. And for those guys that are scared to be in the shower room, because guards don't like to go in the shower room, because what happens in the shower room, they wash themselves in their toilet or their sink. So for the most part, people stay clean. If they don't have money, they have an indigent thing where people get shampoo and toothpaste and stuff like that. But one of the biggest things is hepatitis, because the needle use in prison. AIDS, that's a big controversy in Minnesota. You know why it's a big controversy? They don't even tell the guards. The guards don't know who have AIDS, only the top of the top. So if you and I are fighting, right, and I got AIDS or you got AIDS and we're we're drawing blood on each other, the guards are going to come and we got knives, so we're going to kill each other. Well, before the guards do anything, they're going to take their little gloves out, put their gloves on, protect themselves. That's a big controversy coming from them. They want to know who has AIDS. So there's some things you need to look out for in there. And AIDS is spread not only through needle use, which is big in prison, and there's not like hundreds of needles. There's very few needles that people share, and they sharpen them up. And also sex. A lot of stuff happening like that in prison. A lot of guys go to prison that have wives and kids doing stuff like that, just so they can go home. Just so they.
Sometimes like when the guy tried coming on me there.
You know what? I had one guy. The one guy say he was going to take it from me that I got the attempted murder charge for. I had another guy that I knew he was gay, but he was doing my laundry, and he called me down. He called me down to the laundry room one day, right? I feel stupid saying this.
Okay, go ahead.
And he got on his knees. He says, "Pull your pants down." I said, "Get the fuck out of here!" I started laughing. I said, "I'm out of here. Give me my clothes. I'm out of here." I just started laughing, and I was still cool with him. He did my laundry or whatever, but I couldn't believe it. So that's straight up true. That ain't nothing to be on to be even sharing that if it wasn't true, So, 'cause it ain't cool. But yeah, those are the only really two times. Otherwise, no one ever really says something. So, like Eddie Murphy. Anyways, those are living units. You guys have heard of all these. A house, B house, A block, B block. Every prison in America has anywhere from 6 to 25 of them, depending on where you're at. That's where the inmates live, in those units. These are some of the long hallways leading to the gym, going to the visiting room, going to the yard, going to the canteen, going to the laundry area. And this is off one of those hallways going into a living unit. So I'm kind of trying to take you guys down the hallway here. You go in there. Oh man, where's that picture? Okay, this is one of the living units. I got two pictures turned upside down. This is one of the living units that's on lockdown. Every 3 or 4 months they lock the entire prison down, searching for drugs, searching for weapons. You see people threw their food out of their cells. Guards are pretty smart. They walk underneath the galleys. You know why? Because if an inmate's got a big old piece of steel and I can't stick it inside me or hide it, you can't hide it in your cell, They toss it out. And so lots of times the guards will be walking out here and inmates hears them and they're way up on top. Toss it out, try to hit the guard in the head. So the guards are pretty slick, when it's locked down. And then they let the inmates get the food cleaned up.
They actually ever have that happen.
Oh yeah, that's how they learn how to walk underneath, yeah.
So what about fingerprints? Have it
Well, yeah, I don't know how they got money for all that, and they might today, I don't know. Here's an interesting slide. Here's a guy walking back to his cell. There's not a one of us in this room that knows him. It's back when you could wear your own clothes. But everybody here today, we all know something about him. You know what we know about him? He's not going to pick up his wife to take her to the movie. He's not going to go pick up his son or his daughter, take him to the park. He's walking back to a little 6x9 cell, because whatever he did, 10 seconds or less changed his life forever. That's what we know about him. This used to be a work area. They took away the jobs. They put in bunks because of the overpopulation. Remember, I guess I didn't tell you guys at the beginning, they used to toss guys off the galleys. Off the 3rd or 4th galley, you get mad, gang fights or being drunk or fighting over another guy or whatever. They grab someone and just throw them over. Well, back when Jesse Ventura was governor, the guy who was the wrestler, they finally put up some steel meshes. They kind of made it like an all-star cage match. So instead of getting tossed over, you just get your head scraped a little bit, which is better, right? I mean, it'd be better to get my head scraped than getting tossed over. So this is a turnkey. This is where guards run the electronic bubbles and other, back in that room is where all their walkie-talkies and riot gear and stuff like that is. This is a visiting room. Rules, no visiting on holidays, any kind of sexual misconduct, you'll lose your visits. This is a visiting room. Contact, you have cameras, two-way glass, guards. You sit next to someone and you visit. Pretty intimidating. This is behind glass on a phone. It's just as bad, because you can't even sit next to someone and hear their voice, for what it's like you're talking between some phone. This is the kitchen. Inmates make the food. There's real cooks there and guards that kind of monitor it. They cook military style, meaning they're making big old tubs full of carrots and beans and potatoes. And the food never tastes right. You can imagine some of the rumors about what's in the food. This is interesting. In the old days in Minnesota prisons, you used to have to sit at these tables excuse me, you used to have to eat all the food on your plate. You couldn't talk to anybody. That's how it was in the old days. Then, in the early 70s, they brought in tables and chairs. But you know what they found out soon after that? They created weapons. Guys would have riots. You know, you'd have 20, 30 guys taking their chairs and beating each other. A year and a half before I got out, this is what they did. They bolted everything down. The more you act out, the more they take, and they should, because they need to make it a safe place for inmates and staff. But they don't have the money to do it right away all the time, so they have to wait, you know, until they get the money appropriated. But it costs a lot of money to bolt that stuff down. This is the shower room. The only thing I'm going to say about this room is bad things happen here. You know, we can joke around about dropping the soap and have a little, you know, prison humor or whatever, but real stuff. Real serious stuff, guys. And there's nothing, the soap on the rope, all that stuff. There's nothing funny about rape, whether it's male on male, male on female, or any other way. There's just nothing funny about it. And it happens in the girls' prisons, just like it happens in the guys' prison, just like it happens on the streets. Very serious stuff, and there's nothing funny about that. This is the infirmary. Break an arm, break a leg, got 104 temperature. This is where you lay, this is where you heal. This is the yard. People walk around in the summer months. The homosexuals in prison, the ones that are out about it, what they do is they take their extra large t-shirts, they stretch them over their knees so they're like a skirt. They take the colored chalk from the schoolrooms, they put on as eyeliner. And they walk around the yard, and then inmates offer them drugs, cigarettes for sexual favors. It's kind of like being on the streets in big cities. I'm not kidding, it's crazy. It's one of the devil's little playgrounds. This is the weight room. The weights are now in Montemita High School because guys would use the weights to get big, commit new crimes, or get out and commit new crimes, or use weights as weapons. So there's no more free weights in Minnesota prison, just the universal weights on cables. This is Oak Park Heights, the underground prison. This is the only picture I have of this prison because it's so max security. You guys see the road down front here, that's what you drive by. In the middle is where, it looks like a little elementary school building, but then you see back here how the grass comes to the top. It's all underground. A big, huge hole, man. And this is when you drive in, it looks like a little elementary school building, and you're underground. And when you're out of your cell, all you see is the rest of the other buildings, and you look up and you see a sky, man. You don't see no trees, don't hear no dogs, no cats. I mean, just the simple things we take for granted. Do we got any hunters in this room? People like to hunt? Hope you don't ever get in trouble, man. I can never hunt the rest of my life. I might be able to bow hunt another year, but after I've been out for so long or whatever, but I can never carry a gun the rest of my life. I've been out for almost 12 years, but I've been off parole for, you gotta be off parole for 10, and I was on parole for the first 2 years, so I got like another year or so to go, and I can bow hunt. But think about that, lose your rights to all that stuff. If they catch you, DNR guy or someone catch you, they don't mess around, man. Once you're a felon, you got that on your record, they take that stuff dead serious. Finally, there's my mug shot. That's what I looked like when I was locked up. I hope you guys don't make fun of the mallet or mullet or whatever they called it. But and I hope you know, you see a little difference in me today and know that people do change and that people can change. So that's pretty much it for the slideshow. If there's any more questions, I'll try to answer them. If not, I guess we can break on out of here. Yeah.
Where are we at? Up? Yeah. Okay, these are pictures from the inside of Minnesota prisons. Here's a man who turned his head for the camera. I cannot begin to tell you the feelings of shame and guilt and embarrassment the moment that door slams behind you. It's a whole different feeling and one of the worst feelings in the world, knowing that you can't leave that room until someone else opens that door for you. Down here we have a picture of the chow hall. You sit in designated areas according to where you live. And you get 20 minutes to eat. The food is made by inmates, and there's other cooks there and guards, but oftentimes the food never tastes what it's supposed to taste like, and you can imagine some of the rumors about what's in the food. Down here we just have a regular living unit. The main floor is always called the flag. This unit has 1, 2, 3 galleys. There's phones on the wall. Inmates sign up for phone calls. They get a 15-minute phone call every night after 5 o'clock, and then on the weekends they get a little more time. You're out of your cell from like 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock at night. You can play cards on the dominoes on the tables and just kind of hang out, go inside each other's cells and play cribbage or whatever. And at night is also when a lot of bad things happen. Over here, this is one of the cell doors going into one of the cell houses off one of the main hallways. And then this, behind those doors, this is what this would look like. You got, I don't know, maybe 300 to 400 inmates in each unit, and maybe 10 to 15 guards to watch those 300 to 400 inmates. Once again, this main floor where that guard is standing is called the flag. This unit has 1, 2, 3 galleys. There's been people who have gotten thrown over the galleys, and it's just not a fun place. It's noisy, it's dirty, it's grungy. Up here, this is St. Cloud Reformatory. That's where I went when I first got locked up. It's over 100 years old. Matter of fact, in the old days when you got out of prison, they'd give you a horse and you'd ride away into the sunset. Nowadays, they give you the money that you've been able to save while you were locked up. And in my case, I was able to walk away with $153.97. Over here is the contact visiting room in Stillwater State Prison. You sit next to your loved one or your friend or whoever is visiting you, and you visit. You can no longer kiss an inmate or kiss a visitor, either way, in a visiting room, because the most common way to bring in drugs is through kissing, and so they took that away. You sit next to each other. There's extra guards, cameras, two-way glass, and mirrors. It's very, very intimidating. Not a fun place to see someone that you love. And that picture directly below is the non-contact visiting room, and that's where you sit behind a glass, kind of like, we've all seen the old movies where people put their hand on the glass and try to touch their loved one's hand through the glass, and you talk on a phone. So that's like if you get in trouble in the visiting room, or if you get caught using drugs or alcohol or any kind of sexual misconduct, you get put on non-contact. The bottom picture is the urinalysis cell. If they suspect of using drugs or drinking homemade booze, they bring you into this room, they shut the water off, they put blue stuff in the toilet, they take all your clothes, you're standing there butt naked, and they give you a little bottle of pee for them. If you're dirty, you're going to get caught. When you get caught, you go to solitary confinement, then you get put on non-contact. Lots of drugs in prison, lots of alcohol, people doing the same things that they did on the streets, except inside the walls. Down here then, on this bottom picture right here, we have another typical cell house. There's an inmate walking back to his cell. I don't know that inmate's name. That's back when you could wear your own clothes. But anybody who's listening to this tape or heard me speak today, we all know something about that guy. You know what we know? We know that he's not going to pick up his wife to take her to the movies. We know he's not going to go pick up his daughter or son and take them to the park or shopping or to a ball game. Whatever that man did, he's walking back to a little 6x9 cell because 10 seconds or less changed his life forever. Up here, some of the big steel doors. You enter into the prison or you leave prison. There's 4 to 6 electronic doors. Guards are behind a thing called the bubble, or an enclosed area, and they check your thumbprints. They read your retinas to make sure you're the right guy coming and going, and you got a lot of paperwork to sign, so on and so forth. Up on top, at Stillwater State Prison, it's also over 100 years old. In the old days, Jesse James and the Younger brothers did time there. That's the same prison where I ended up getting sober at, and went to treatment in the Atlantis Chemical Dependency Program. Over here in the middle on top, that's my mugshot. That's what I looked like when I was locked up. My name was no longer Russell Simon. My new name was 124938. I hope people can see a difference in me today, and know that people can change, and that, when you do the things that you ought not to do, there's consequences to pay. And so anyways, I don't know if I like the mullet or not, but whatever. A lot of people give me a little jazzing about that. Down here, we have another typical galley in a cell block. The main floor is always called the flag. It's dirty, it's grungy. There's bats that fly around at night because the windows are broken open from the riots back in the early 80s. Behind the cell houses on the catwalks, you can hear the rats and the mice going up and down. And what do you expect? Most prisons in America are old and grungy and dirty. Over here is some of the machine gun towers and fences leading up to Stillwater State Prison. Down here on the bottom right is the weight room in Stillwater State Prison. A lot of the weights are all gone because people would use them to get big and get out of prison and commit new crimes, or commit new crimes while they're in prison. Also, they would use the weights as weapons. So all the free weights have been taken out of Minnesota prisons and given to local high schools, and they have the universal weights and some treadmills and stuff like that to stay in shape. But for the most part, you can't get as big as you could on free weights. Up above that is a schoolroom in prison. Back when I was in prison, you could get you get college education. Nowadays, you can only get a high school diploma or a GED. What's different than the schools that I travel around in America compared to the school in prison? Well, let's see. There's bars on the windows. Guys don't see no girls. Girls don't see no guys. If one of those guys have to go to the bathroom, they don't get a little eraser pass that says "Be back in 5 minutes." They get escorted to a bathroom, and the guards watch them. Why? Well, because inmates are having sex, smoking dope, or fighting in the bathroom, so they need escorts wherever they go. Up on top is Oak Park Heights Maximum Security Prison. There's never been a murder. There's never been an escape in that prison. That's where I spent my solitary confinement time, and as well as, probably about another year and a half of my time. It's underground, as you can see up on top there, where the grass goes around the top of the building. It's in a big, huge hole. It wasn't a fun place to be, that's for sure. Lots of high-profile inmates there, and lots of crazy stories out of that place. But it's clean. The food's pretty good, and you got 7 units, 50 people to a unit. You got like 10 guards for each unit. So that's why they call it max security, because there's more guards, less people. Therefore, you can't get away with as much. Down here is a case of weapons given to me by Stillwater State Prison. I go back in prisons and speak all over the country. And one day I was in Stillwater State Prison, and the guard said he had something for me. He gave me a case of, or a tub, actually a plastic tub full of weapons. He said, take them home, clean them up, put them in a case and show people. These were all confiscated inside Stillwater State Prison. You have a pair of nunchucks down here, a big old billy club. This was used to knock someone out and rape them. You have a padlock in a sock where people would swing around the sock and hit someone in their head. This here is a sheath where people would put the knife into and hang on to it. These are snitch slashers, people that have testified or told on people, or child molesters usually get cut up, get a scar left on their face, or so on and so forth. Just something to remind them of what they've done. But you got inmates that make these weapons in the industries. A lot of things, or some of the things they make in prison are hay wagons, feed bins, 3-ring binders, license plates, Sears hearing aid pouches, Fruit of the Loom underwear and T-shirts. And inmates will take the material and they will abuse it, and they'll make weapons to protect themselves or to hurt or harm somebody else during their time in the penitentiary. Now, finally, I'd like to share that I was able to write a couple of books, and I self-publish my books. They're not in any bookstores anywhere in America. I sell them out of my trunk of my car, my garage. But I'm very, very blessed to say my first book, Inside the Walls, a book about drugs, prison, gangs, and recovery. There's now over 40,000 copies in print. Lots of these books are in high schools all over America. I also have a workbook that goes with this book called Simon Says Work the Book. I don't have one of those with me today to show on tape, but it's been a very good interactive piece for young people to read the book and then work on a workbook and take a look at some of the choices they're making in their own lives. And then I was also able to write another book a few years later. This one's been out for about 4 or 5 years. There's close to 20,000 copies of this one in print. It's called No Way But God's Way. It's not a in-your-face kind of Christian book, anything like that. It's pretty mild, but it shares my testimony in the spiritual realm, which for me is really what helped change my life around. So it's been a good book. And then I was able to go inside Stillwater State Prison a few years ago with a camera crew, and I put together a video called 10 Seconds Can Change Your Life Forever. I was able to go all over the prison. I mean, they gave me unlimited access, and I got to see everything in the whole prison and places that I never got to see when I was doing time. They really opened it up, so it was really cool. And there's some good music on here, and it's pretty much my talk. 10 Seconds Can Change Your Life Forever, and I hope if anybody is interested in my books or my videotape or workbook or having me come to speak in their school or community or church, to please contact the information on the bottom. You can also go to my website at www.russellsimon.com and get a hold of me through there. It's been a great day. Lots of positive feedback from the students and the staff here at Fairfield High School, and I'm looking forward to the parent program tonight, and we hope to get a lot of people here tonight. So it's been a good day so far, and I'm really thankful to have this opportunity to share this with you. So thank you.